All right, RVA Bourbon back. Doing a little bourbon tasting tonight. If you can hear music in the background, I think I'm supposed to say that's not my music, um, even though it could be my music, probably. Um, Tonight I'm doing a tasting of bourbons that you can walk in the ABC store today and are under 40 bucks. Actually, I think everything here is probably under 35, close to 35 or less. So not cheap bourbon, just inexpensive bourbon. Um, so I have five. Um, I have a Russell's 10, which I think is probably the highest priced here, which is like 35 bucks. Russell's is a wild turkey product, basically. I've got just straight, they call it EC, Elijah Craig, 94, small batch. This is a 1792 small batch. I think that bottle runs like $28, $29. I have a Woodford Reserved Oak. Now this is a little bit, it's a double oaked. It's a little bit smaller bottle, but I think this bottle is like 29. And then I have an Evan Williams single barrel. All right. So these five I chose just as bourbons that you could walk in today, get them. They're under 40 bucks, and I feel like all of these are very enjoyable. I think I've had them all except for the Evan Williams single barrel. I have not tried that, so tonight will be the first night that I try that. But I just thought I'd do a inexpensive way to learn. If you wanted to pick up a bottle, I'm getting ready to do a tasting of five, and I can tell you what I will like the best out of these five. And if you wanted to pick it up for yourself, you could do so. So I'll start with the first one. It smells really good. When you're smelling bourbon, you're going to smell a lot of the same things, and rather than completely repeat myself all the time, it's like a caramel, smell like almost like a candy corn, caramel candy corn, Halloween. Now I'm sitting by a campfire with a sweatshirt on. Okay. It's good. Unique taste. A little up front, a little back end. Good taste to it. This is a smooth tasting bourbon. A good smell. So I'm going to go through these, but I can tell you this is a fairly good one. A little bit of a unique taste to that, but I like it. I like it. So I'll go on to the second one. Can you give me a water? Thank you. Not a ton of smell to the second. A little oaky smell to this. I think I know what this is, but we'll see when I'm done. It's a good, smooth bourbon. Not a lot to it, but it has up front and finish. So a lot of bourbons that I don't care for have one or the other. And I say don't care for, I would still drink them, but you're not going to get the full palate. You know, palate, finish, everything. This actually has a little bit still of everything. Both 1 and 2 still has a little bit of everything. Good smooth bourbon. If you look at that where I poured or drank it, it's the alcohol kind of runs down the glass, which usually is a little bit higher proof. Most of these, I believe everything on this table is definitely below 100 proof. So everything's going to be, I believe, Elijah Craig 94 is probably the highest of the 4, of the 5. But I'll check them out when I rate them. The third one, not a ton of smell to this. It's good. Not as much front end and back end as the first 2, but I would, all 3 of these I would buy again. And okay. A fair bourbon. All 3 of these are very similar. When you start comparing bourbons that are the same exact proof, sometimes it gets a little difficult to pinpoint what you like out of each one. That's why I like to go through and back. I'm going to try this 4th one. Not a lot of smell to this. I think you will kind of find that in your lower proof bourbons. You're not going to have a ton of smell. I would say these first 2 had more smell than the second 2. Again, a very smooth bourbon. Equal palate to finish all the way through. I really haven't found one that like blows me away, but I'm kind of leaning towards that. I'm a higher proof kind of guy, so the higher proof just has more flavor, and you will get a lot more burn with a higher proof, but the flavor is amazing on a higher proof or a barrel proof or a cask strength. And I think if you've seen some of the other videos, when I pick out the winner, it's usually going to be a cask strength barrel proof, stronger, above 111, 110, 111 is going to be my wheelhouse. But to start out, these 5 whiskeys that I'm tasting tonight would be great for anybody starting out that wanted to walk in the liquor store and get one today. I was telling a friend not too long ago that it's not always so bourbon tasting is fun. The hunt, they call it the hunt, is also very fun too. So when you get a bourbon that only comes to Virginia once a year, and they only allocate each store 6 bottles, and you're watching the website to see where they're going to be at in Virginia, and you're trying to get there so you don't have to stand in a long line and be one of those people that get one of those 6 bottles that were allocated in your area. Virginia also does a lottery for like your really high-end bourbons like Pappy. Some of the E.H. Taylors are lottery, and you actually enter a lottery to be able to purchase one of the bottles. All right, number 5. Sweet, like as soon as I picked this up, like an oaky sweet tea is what that smells like. Big time, like sweet tea, big time. And as soon as I picked it up, I knew that what it smelled like right off the top. I mean, before it even got to my nose, I could smell sweet tea. Very unique flavor in number 5. Different from the rest. Flavor profile. Very different. Very, very nice. That number 5 is very nice. So I'm going to go back through them, and then I'll rank these according to my palate. And if you take the first 2 that I pick out and you wanted to get started in drinking bourbon, these 2 that I pick out would be good starters. If I had to recommend a starter bourbon that sometimes is difficult to find in ABC stores, I would strongly recommend Buffalo Trace. It's less than $30, and it's probably the best bourbon under $30, period. But I did not put it in this lineup because Buffalo Trace is not always easily found. You probably cannot walk into an ABC store today and get it. Now, it is becoming more regularly available, but you have to check the website each week. It usually gets distributed in Virginia maybe once a month to stores around Richmond, but you do have to search for it just a little bit. If you're ever in a liquor store and you see Buffalo Trace, get you a bottle. That'll knock your socks off. There is some sweetness to that. There is a sweet tea taste to that. A very unique. I like that. That number 5 is some good stuff. Probably going to be in my top 2. All right, let's go to number 4. Ken, I think I said this, kind of bland smelling, not a ton of smell to this. And because I'm tasting this behind 5, your normal run-of-the-mill bourbon right here. Can't say anything bad about it. Can't say anything really great about it. But I would drink it. Also, I would say for I don't want to say beginner, somebody that wants to get into drinking bourbon, if you're out somewhere, order an old fashioned. Let them make it for you, and it's a good way to get that little bit of a bourbon taste, and then have the mix with it. Um, Bourbon takes a little bit of acquiring a taste. I know I was the same way about IPAs when they first came out. I was like, that smells like armpits. It's bad. It just smells bad. And then I tried some of the fruitier IPAs. And then once you get that IPA flavor down in your palate, then you start to, I wouldn't say crave it, but that's what you want to drink. You don't want a Miller Lite, you don't want a Bud Light, you want an IPA. So, and I'm kind of that way. I started out with the bourbon in your 90 proofs or less was my go-to. This is what I like. This is, then the more you get into it, you really start to see how much flavor the higher proofs have over the lower proofs. That's a average bourbon at best. I can't say anything bad about it. Can't really say a ton good about it, other than it's an average bourbon. Number 3. A little bit of a more of a unique taste. So for this plain old bourbon right here, not bad, not great, didn't knock my socks off. This has a unique taste, but to my palate, I don't really care for the unique taste in this one. Some kind of, she's got a nice, this number 3 is not good up front for me. So I don't like that physical taste. I love the back end. I love the finish. I love it from here back, but I don't like the taste, which, you want to taste a good bourbon. You want that up front, taste like caramel, kind of thick, slides down your throat. So this number 3 had not much up front, a lot in the throat, and a lot in the chest. That part I liked. I just don't like the actual taste of the bourbon. We're going to go to number 2. Again, a little bit unique. Not bad. Much more up front and back end. I don't mind the taste up front. It's decent. And none of these have been horrible. So, when I rank these, if you have 5 bourbons, one's got to be first and one's got to be last. A lot of upfront. I love the feeling. I just don't know if I love the upfront taste, but it's a upfront. Let's try this number 1. That has a good smell to it. This has a candy corn vanilla smell to it. It has a sweet smell. A little bit of some roses in here. Floral. I like one. I know 5 is going to be my first place. 4 is going to be my last place. And again, I would say I'm going to go 5 and then I'm going to go 1. And these are very close. So 5 and 1 are very close. Let me taste 2. I got a little bit left. All right. So I'm gonna go. We'll go. Last place is the first one I'm gonna reveal, and that was number 4. What was number 4?
Evan Williams.
All right. So my last place, which it's a little shocking because a lot of bourbon lovers love the Evan Williams single barrel. It's the only Evan Williams that they would buy. It's a average, and the price point on this I think is fairly cheap too. So, but that would be my last place of these. And again, Evan Williams is a cheap whiskey. This is their high end of the cheap whiskey. The best they got. This is probably the best Evan Williams makes. And I still didn't care for it. So, that's that. That was my last place. Then we will go to number 3.
Russell's.
Some Russell's, which is a Wild Turkey product. It's a 10-year. I had put this in a, I had either tasted it after something, and I said, it's for the money for a 10-year whiskey. So this has been aged 10 years. And it's not my favorite. And I'm a Wild Turkey guy. Wild Turkey, rare breed, the Wild Turkey. I like Wild Turkey. But this, now twice, has probably been a third or fourth pick for me. It's good that it's a 10-year whiskey. It has that 10-year funk, what they call. So when you age it, it's going to have that barrel taste to it, that oaky taste to it. But that was my number 4 of the picks I had. So now they just basically go in order. So what was my number 3?
Which one did you say was third?
Number 3.
Oh, no.
Number 3 is number 3.
Russell's.
No, you just said Russell's was 4.
Hold on. Which did you say was 4th place? Number what?
Fourth place. I'm sorry. You're right. So my 4th place was number 4, which was the Evan Williams. That was my 5th place. Right. My 4th place was number 3. Just tell me what they were, because I can't really pause it.
Number
What was number? Tell me what number 4 was.
Evan Williams.
All right, so that was Evan Williams. That was my last place.
Yes.
What was number 3?
Russell's.
That was my next to last.
Yeah.
Okay. What was number 2?
Number 2 was Elijah Craig Small Batch.
All right. So my 3rd place tonight is EC Small Batch. I'm surprised it finished 3rd. Everybody loves this. For $29, it's probably one of the best value whiskeys. I liked it, just not quite as good as these other 2. Actually, yeah, I would say that. I mean, that finished 3rd. I mean, it's a blind tasting. But I like this. I like Elijah Craig. So I'd love to put it in another tasting and see, because I do like this, but obviously not as much tonight. What was the number? My number 1. This number 1.
1792.
All right, so 1792 small batch was my 2nd place tonight. I would put it as a 1st place. I mean, it was really close. The only reason I gave this number 5, which is going to be the Woodford Reserve Double Oaked, the only reason I put it behind that was because this had a very unique taste. But this is a good bottle of whiskey for bourbon for $29. I strongly recommend it. It was good, and it, like I said, neck and neck with the winner, which is, this is Woodford Reserve Double Oaked. A lot of people say, if you can't get Blanton's, get you some Woodford Reserve Double Oaked. As you can see, this is probably one of my favorite bourbons, because it's not far from being almost gone. It's very good. It's got a great taste to it, great smell. I just really would and everybody, all bourbon lovers, would strongly recommend that. They would tell you, oh, we would never recommend a Woodford Reserve. Yes, you would. A Double Oaked, you would. So, anyway, that would be my number 1 if you're going in the store. That Woodford Reserve Double Oaked. So, Woodford Reserve makes a bunch. Just make sure you get the Double Oaked. It actually comes in a smaller bottle, so you can get it. But I think even the smaller bottle is like $29. So, but it's worth it. That, and then I would still strongly recommend 1792 small batch. I love it. 1792 makes several, but small batch you can get your hands on pretty easily. They make a single barrel. They make a I know they make a bottle and bond. They make a sweet wheat. They make a 12-year. So, all right, that's about it. That wraps it up, the video. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.